This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
And welcome back, everyone. Anytime we say the word massage, right away it conjures up a happy feeling. It's a release, relaxation, and so much more. Many times we don't look at it as a therapeutic model, as in therapeutic massage. We're going to dig into that today. Also, bodywork and everything involved. And what makes our next guest different is she employs a different type of massage along with the ones that we're all aware of. I love the name of her practice, New Lease on Life. My gosh, it says it all right there. So great to have Jacqueline Davis join us on the program. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Steve?
Very well, and very eager to jump into what you do and learn more about this, because so many of us have this perception of massage, and many of us, I just had this conversation with a friend of mine that right away when he goes to a massage, it's like, give me the deep tissue massage because I want to get everything I can get for my money's worth. But that doesn't mean that's the best for you. It just means that somebody's going to dig into you hard. And if that benefits you, great. Sometimes it doesn't. He actually even said to me, yeah, and I remember this one time I was aching for days after that because I told the massage therapist to just, give me what you can, because we think we're getting our money's worth. But the light touch is almost as, if not sometimes better. Let's talk about your practice in general and some of the services you provide, because there's one in particular that I've never heard of, and I want us to get to that today as well. Can we do that?
Sure.
So tell me about your practice.
Okay. Well, my business is reducing soft tissue discomfort, and I do that with orthobionomy. And I am a registered practitioner under that, which means I finished a 500-hour professional training program that went above and beyond the massage therapy licensing. Wow. New Lease on Life, that's got a little bit of a story. We'll talk about that maybe a little later. But it's a one-person massage practice. I started in New York City in 2015, and then I relocated to Chattanooga in 2019 after I retired from higher education. I grew up in Chattanooga area, actually, so I came home, and it's been nice to return to my roots and my extended family.
I was going to ask you about that because coming from New York, and that was only about 10 years ago, you don't have a New York accent. You've got a Chattanooga accent. So it's originally where you're from.
Yeah, I remember when I was in New York, people would say, "You're not from here, are you?" And I'd say, "No, I'm from Southern New Jersey." And they would look at me really funny, and I'd just laugh and say, "I'm kidding. I'm from South."
Well, yeah, South Jersey, I guess you're from the South of Jersey, I guess in some ways. Tell us more, because and we're going to get into orthobionomy in a little bit, but that's one of the things that does make you different, especially with the number of hours that you trained. Tell us about some of the other modalities that you use.
Okay. Well, I obviously can do Swedish massage. I do lymph drainage and pregnancy massage. There are a few others I do, but I would say those are probably the ones that are more on the gentle side. Well, other than Swedish. And in addition to modalities, exercises are a part of orthobionomy. So this is a way that we help our clients help themselves. We teach them exercises that they can do at home in between sessions. And unfortunately, not everyone will do them, but the people who do them find them to be very helpful. And they do help them get over things that they're working to correct or to strengthen their bodies so that they don't feel pains and aches. But because I was going to be presenting exercises to people, I thought, well, it doesn't say that's a scope of practice in massage law. So I got a certification in personal training so that I had a scope of practice I could work from. And then I did another one that puts massage with exercises. So I think I've got enough scope of practice on that at this point. But I just did want to add that if anybody's interested in learning about what kind of self-care exercises are out there, there's a book that one of my colleagues wrote about it. Should I give the title to that so everybody can follow up?
Yes, please.
Okay. It's written by Luann Overmeyer, who has decades of experience doing orthobionomy. And she's also one of our master teacher trainers. And the title of the book is Orthobionomy, A Path to Self-Care.
So with orthobionomy, this is the one that I was referring to in the very beginning. I've heard of lymph drainage, and we can certainly get into that and how the lymphatic system is so important and so undervalued by regular people. We don't realize what's going on there and how important it is. And certainly Swedish massage, pregnancy massage, and some of the other modalities. But orthobionomy, that's a new one for me. Can we look at that and find out exactly what that is?
Sure. Can I start with just about the gentleness of the work first?
Sure.
Well, this kind of talks about how I got into it as well. So I'm going to talk about how gentle it is and the kinds of tissues we connect with. And eventually I'll talk a little bit about what the sessions are like and a little bit more about orthobionomy later. But it's such a gentle therapy and is gentle on the practitioner and it's gentle on the client. It's so gentle that it can be done on a baby, a very frail elderly person. It can be done on someone with chronic pain. It can be done pretty soon after surgery. And I was drawn to it because in massage school, I was trying to do deep tissue and I got golfer's elbow symptoms. So my elbow would ache on we call it the medial side, the side that's next to my body. And it was very painful. And I was thinking, oh, great, I'm not even practicing and I'm already injured. I may not be able to do this when I retire, which was my plan. And, but I continued on. And then my last semester in massage school, the instructor of our clinical, where we had clients coming in and do practice, do sessions on clients, and they paid a fee and sort of funded that process. Before the clients came, the professor was a new one to me, and he asked for a volunteer to show how to do some knee work with. And I had a pretty severe osteoarthritis of the knee. And so I was following people in the airport that were in wheelchairs. That's how bad I got at that point. Wow. And I've since had surgeries, and so I don't walk like that anymore, but I did for a time. And I had been in pain for a long time. And when he asked for a volunteer, I got on the table. And then as he assessed my knee, he asked me questions. And then he did something totally different. And it didn't seem like a whole lot, but my pain stopped. I was floored. And I said, what did you do? What is that called? And so pretty quickly, I signed up because I thought, heck, it helps my knee. If I can do this work, I won't hurt myself. And so that got me started in it. And that's one thing I want to share with people that are massage therapists or body workers out there. If you're in a position where you think, I can't keep doing this work, my body can't handle it, you might find orthobonomy is gentle enough that you can keep working.
Hmm.
And what I've learned is that deep tissue is not necessarily putting all your weight into it. Deep tissue is how you affect the tissues. And we'll talk a little bit about this later. But you do deep work on someone. When people get up from a session, they're woozy. And I know that myself, if I walk down a hallway, I bounce from one side of the hallway to the other because it is so relaxing and such deep work. And I know for me, it also is work that you can do with trauma patients, and it's gentle, so it doesn't re-traumatize them.
Wow.
So it is very, very deep work.
Well, you know it firsthand.
I do.
Can we look at where this all started? Because for many of us, myself included, orthobionomy, I've never even heard of it until I just met you. Uh, how did it start? Can we take a look at the history?
Sure. Um, the founder was from Canada originally, and he was in England, and he was a judo master, and he had a studio, and he or his students would get hurt, and he would send them to the osteopath around the corner. And finally, the osteopath said, you know, Arthur, you really should go to osteopath school and work on your own students. I don't know whether it was too much business or I'm not sure why, but he thought that was a good idea. And Arthur was a very eccentric person, and he was a genius. And
Mm.
he was about in his 40s when he went to osteopath school. And he'd also trained as a homeopath, and he was a master, a judo master. You know, he had the highest credentials. So as he went into the osteopath school, at that time, the work was really forceful. And it's what they call a direct method. So you take it and you push it where it belongs. And it can be very painful if the tissues are still traumatized. And he did not like that because it totally went against what he learned in judo. And what he learned was that that you balance yourself, you go in there, you're strong, you're balanced. And then when you're facing an opponent, you look for their imbalances. You look for where their weaknesses or their imbalances. So if someone's posture is not really settled into the ground, then you look at where that's going and you don't put a lot of force into it, but you push their body that way and they'll collapse and you can win the match.
Mm.
And so even though they would occasionally get some injuries and all, this just went against the grain for him. And so he was trying to imagine how he was going to do this work with the feelings like, I can't just force people. If someone is injured, I can't just force them into corrective response. That just does not make sense to me. And he found a paper while he was in school that was written by an osteopath from the US, Lawrence Jones. And this paper was written in 1964. And it was called Spontaneous Release by Positioning. So Jones had this client he treated several times and he couldn't help him. And he was ready to refer him to somebody else. But the guy came in, let's call him Bob. And Bob said, please just see me. I can't sleep. I haven't been able to sleep. I'm in pain. Could you please just get me comfortable and let me sleep a little while? And so he took him in one of his treatment rooms. And propped him up with pillows. His psoas muscles were so tight that they were extremely painful. And for those of you who don't know what a psoas muscle is, it's the muscle that attaches your upper body and your lower body. So it attaches to your spine, the lumbar, and a little bit of the thoracic spine. And then it attaches down on the legs, and it goes under the pelvis in the front of your pelvis, that iliac, they call it. And it comes out the end, and it attaches onto the femur, the big leg bone at the top of your thigh. And it's a very sensitive muscle. It's what do they call those? The fillets. It's a fillet. That's what you eat when you have a beef fillet.
Mm-hmm.
And it is also a really highly strung muscle. And so it's really involved with the fight-flight reflex. So it's a very temperamental muscle. And a lot of people have very, very tight ones. If you've ever seen anybody who walks and they're bent forward, they probably got a tight psoas muscle. So I can imagine how much pain this guy was feeling when he went in there. So Jones, he positioned him, he set him up, and then he left him in the room and went and worked on some other patients. After a while, he remembered, oh yeah, he's in the room, and he went in to check on him, and he was awake and he was standing up, and the guy had this look on his face, and he said, I can't believe it. My pain is gone. And so Jones couldn't believe it either. He hadn't been able to help him so far. And so he decided this was a really good idea to develop this as a therapy treatment. And so he worked, and there's a lot of work on this out there for all these points and positions you put people in to make these releases. And he called his work strain counter strain. So Arthur reads this paper and he goes, oh, there it is. That's how you do this work without force. And he got very excited, and he started doing some research with a colleague and developed orthobonomy. And so the osteopathy at that time is a direct method. You force it, even against a barrier, you push it, and doesn't feel good. Sometimes it has to be done, like in physical therapy after surgery. You have to break up scar tissue. Otherwise, people won't be able to bend their knees if they get a knee replacement. That's just the way it is. So I'm not saying that direct method is not valuable or important. It is. But there's also a place, though, for what spontaneous release by positioning is indirect. So you move the tissue in a point of ease where you're not moving it to correct it. You're moving it where the body's comfortable with it. So you put it where it wants to go. And then you hold it. And then people say it's magic. Well, it's not magic, but it feels like magic. It feels like you just took a cold drink of water after you've been out in the desert walking. It is such a relief when it happens. And it's very profound when you feel that happen in your body. It's pretty amazing. So this whole work of orthobonomy is based on that, but it takes a little bit different because it comes from judo and homeopathy, which were other disciplines that Arthur felt were important and useful in building what he built in orthobonomy. But
it's almost as if this was discovered by accident.
It was.
Yeah.
It was. Several accidents led to it. Definitely.
Is there, Jacqueline, is there any massage modality or any modality in general that comes even close to orthobionomy?
Well, I would say spontaneous release by positioning, or they call it strain counter strain. There's another term for it. I can't remember another term for it, but there are several people that have developed that, and it would be similar. And I've looked into some of those, but it's like this whole it's like a whole list of things. And the first whole session is you go through and test them all these points, and then you mark this sheet, and then you go and you treat the next session, you treat the ones that they need work on. And I played around with this a little bit, and I just couldn't remember all those positions. I had to go and read them, and I guess if I did that on a daily basis, I could learn it. But it felt scripted to me. And orthobonomy is really different because, like Arthur would size up his opponents. Someone walks into the massage room, or I meet them at the door, or I meet them out on the street. I'm watching how they move, and I get some idea of what's going on with them. I see it in their way they carry themselves, their posture, and I think, I bet you I need to do this, 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 and this. And so I've already got in my head a little list of things that I know I need to check out for them. It seems to me orthobonomy just feels a little more organic to me and not so scripted. I guess that's a simple way of saying it.
Mm. And you mentioned before about somebody having surgery. Would you say that this is very impactful, very important, that can help move somebody's life forward after surgery once they're
Yes,
healed?
yes, because we have a course, for example, for knee surgery treatments. And you go in before and you do the treatment to get the muscles relaxed that are going to be impacted from the surgery. And then you come in the day after, and then you go through and you work on those muscles. Now, you're not working on the surgical site at all, but
Right.
you're working around it. And I remember I had knee replacement surgery, and I was so excited that my one of my colleagues could come in and work on me. Well, the hospital would not permit it.
Ah, yes.
And so I was in the hospital for 3 days in agony, um, because when they tap the cap, they saw the end of the bone off, they tap the caps on, and I was having more pain in my sacrum from them putting the cap, pounding the cap on the end of my femur bone than I had from the surgical site. I was in agony,
Mm.
and they would not let me bring her in to help me.
Well, I would
And
imagine for insurance reasons, because it's also my understanding, even with energy healers like Reiki practitioners, they'll do Reiki on even the doctors and the surgeons, not just the patients.
right,
And it's becoming more and more popular in surgery suites. However, many of them aren't allowed in there for that reason. Insurance. One more person in there, just add maybe some confusion. We don't want to take a chance, so nobody else is allowed in there. And maybe the same situation that you encountered.
well, I think it also, this was a big research place in New York City, and they didn't want to skew the results of their research, I think.
Okay.
That's what I thought it was probably the issue, but I was not expecting that. Some
Mm,
hospitals are fine. Sure, bring them on. I went to my friend after her knee surgery, and gave her a session the day after it.
wow. Mm,
And the hospital was fine there. So yeah, there are reasons that they would say no, but I was really disappointed.
mm.
But that's neither here nor there.
Well, we are just about out of time for today. There's so much to talk about here. We haven't even gotten into your journey, which inspired you
Right.
to become a licensed massage therapist. And certainly lots more to talk about with this particular modality and so many other ones that you help people out with. If this is resonating, you're located in Chattanooga, as we said. What's the best way for somebody to connect with you if they have questions, they want to learn more about this?
Well, they can email me, New Lease on Life Bodywork at gmail.com. They can go to my website. Should I call that out or?
We'll put it up on the screen.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So you can go to my website, and then that will refer you to how to contact me. And it also has information about the Society of Orthobionomy, which runs the program. And if you're not in my area, you can also do a finder for practitioners in that area. So that would be a good place for people who are interested in the work to start.
Sure. And wonderful to learn about this. By the way, we'll put the web URL up. It's a long one, that's why. But fascinating learning about this. There's so much out there that many of us aren't even aware of, and we could be feeling better. A lot of us just default to that Swedish massage, and that's all good, but not going to get you through some challenging times where orthobionomy might, and some of the other modalities. Jacqueline, thanks for being here today and enlightening us on this. I've talked to massage therapists before. This is a new one on me, and so much more to learn next time we get together.
Okay, well, thank you so much. You made me feel very comfortable.
Wow, well, thank you. I feel comfortable with you, and love learning. Love learning about many different things out there that can support us. We'll talk next time.
Okay.
Appreciate it. We'll be right back.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.